How do you figure out what it is that you really want to do in life, or a vision, or your purpose, or the relationship you want? How do you figure that out? And once you know what it is, how do you bring it into being? And so this is the part of our inquiry in tonight's session of Grace Under Fire. We are talking about from vision to purpose. Join us to find out more.
Soul Nectar Show, the Soul Nectar Show. You're invited, delighted to discover who you are. Anything is possible if you believe. So join us on this beautiful journey. Soul Nectar Show, Soul Nectar Show, Soul Nectar Show.
Again, welcome to our series, Grace Under Fire, a live series of talks from myself, Kerri Hummingbird Sami, host of Soul Nectar Show, and Akeem Sami, who is my partner and co-founder of Inner Medicine Community. And in this series, we are exploring how to meet the fiery intensity of 2026 to expand our inner freedom and influence collective healing with a grounded, intentional approach to working with these transformational energies available at this time. We've had many discussions so far. This is our fifth session of this series. And up until now, we've talked about how to be love in action in the midst of fiery reactivity. We've explored how to move beyond spiritual rhetoric to an actual embodiment of our values. We shared about sacred tools for doing the transformational work of 2026. And in this call, we are going to talk about moving from a vision of your purpose into daily intentional practice.
Yes.
Did you want to say a few words about yourself for anyone who's watching in this episode doesn't know much about you?
Yes, this is Akeem Sami. I am co-founder, Kerri's partner. I am a martial artist, lifetime martial artist. Also a healing facilitator, multiple types of healing, from pranic healing to shamanic to pranic. Well, I already mentioned pranic, but there's several types. It's more so somatic forms of healing. And this also includes being a certified spiritual guide. So, or spiritual counselor is more so the term. Yeah, yeah. And so today is a big day. It's about vision to practice. And we've spoken, if you've tuned in on this series before and kind of seen and kind of been tracking where we were going, we've been leading up to certain points. And this is an important moment. This is where you actually bring a vision to practice. And, this is a really good time to really go into details about the nuances that show up when you've actually begun to build your own spiritual practice. And if you don't have one, this is an opportunity. This is an intersection that leads you toward a more spiritual way of being. And you'll see, if you haven't already, what happens when you don't have an active spiritual practice, when things go fast and furious and things go aggressive. You're met with your shadow behavior. We've mentioned this before, so feel free to tune back in if you haven't seen every one up to now. But these are leading you up to the more practical side. How do you make the rubber meet the road?
Yeah, and
How do you
you can watch all of them back at Soul Nectar Show, soulnectar.show, SOULNECTAR.show. And you can also subscribe at my website to get all the replays to your email inbox at kerrihummingbird.com, KERRI hummingbird.com. And you can get all of the wisdom we shared over 4 talks. And now this one. So we're going to be addressing 2 themes that actually work together. They overlap together. And it's how do you envision the life you desire is the first theme. And the second theme is what practices support you not only in receiving a clear vision, but also daily steps to practically manifest that into vision. And so those are the two themes, and they actually work together, because without practices, how are you going to have the vision? How are you going to have a clear vision without practices? And without practices, how are you going to bring that vision into manifestation? And so we're going to talk about those two themes. And I'll share some of what works for me, and Akeem will share some of what works for him. And
Yeah. Well, there are some practices that can support you in receiving a clear vision. And so, first, there's an opening sacred space and to call in the support of your guides and higher self. Some people will call in angelic support if you're into that. Whatever frequency that you align with. There's here also with intermedicine community, we don't make it wrong to feel like, well, I prefer angelic support. Is that okay? No, no, of course it's okay. If it's calling you to a higher place and it's calling you to be the best version of yourself and it calls you not to harm others, absolutely. We are very accepting and open in the intermedicine community. So, in order to get to this sacred space, you call in the support of these guides and your higher self. Next is meditation, or what we often prefer, contemplation. Now, I want to speak briefly about that. I've heard so many people along my travels and trainings and shares and receivings that I can't meditate. That's so hard to do. That's too hard for me. And then I began to ask them questions about what is meditation for you? And they said, well, you're supposed to sit still. You're supposed to hold your fingers like this, the mudras, right? You're supposed to say, yeah, Om Shanti Om, or you're supposed to say, some sort of prayer statement or message, or just Om. That's one form of meditation, but there's actually many, many ways to meditate. Really, meditation is a tool that's used to get into contemplation. So, Kerri might speak a little bit of this if you're called to, but you ran marathons and half marathons. And how did you get to that point? Well, you go into the energy of what you needed within yourself to get to that solid place where you could actually put things together because you were going through some tough times when you first decided to start training it. But what you also did was you bridged the movement with something consistent that keeps happening over and over again. For some people, it's crocheting. For me, it's martial arts. I like to practice forms very slowly, even fast, even normal pace. I go through different forms. I just work on certain pieces of forms. And that's a form of meditation. It's really just something that you can do. It could also be dance. Ecstatic dance is something that's really up and popular in the spiritual communities that I'm aware of these days. Ecstatic dancing, which is where you just dance, dance, dance until you feel like you're floating in the euphoria. What happens in that? You're practicing breath. So now that you're meditating, you go into this place where, oh, your mind starts to quiet. Kerri mentioned this last one, talking about the mind that didn't want to rest, and when it didn't want to rest, you had to get to a faster point of movement. I have to as well. And then I can get to this place where I still down, contemplation, you start to level out. Your pulse actually becomes more consistent and healthier, especially if you're living a stressed lifestyle before. So the goal of particular contemplation, once you get to this place of contemplation, is not so much connecting what's on the inside and channeling alignment with the universe, but it's actually sitting with yourself and just doing a daily or weekly sorting practice. So important to connect the dot that this is just sorting. You don't have to connect heaven and earth, and you have to do it for 20 minutes a day, and you have to instantly pull it together where everyone has to do things a certain way, and this person has to be there and that person has to be there. It's much more open. Just think of it as you're sorting your mental practice. And yes, you are consistent, but it doesn't have to be, oh, I meditate for 60 minutes a day. Well, just start with 2 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. But you start with something and then you're consistent.
yeah, and I think that what you're mentioning is that there's different ways of getting yourself into a meditative state or a trance state where we're accessing a different part of the brain. than we access when we're in beta brain and we're active. When we're in beta brain and we're going about our lives and it's busy and we have work and, kids and dropping things at school and going to do this and going to do that and we're busy and we're doing stuff, then we're in a beta frame of mind. It's very busy mind. And it's there because it's helping us to move through our very structured day and get places on time and be at meetings and have logical thought and conversation, right? So it has a purpose. But what we're talking about in this part is stepping into and some people call this masculine mind or feminine mind, right? So we want to step into the feminine, which is the spirit, the flow, and the trance, and the part of you that is not tied to the material, the part of you that's beyond your identification, who you think you are, your story, your name, your title you give yourself, the little elevator pitch you give people when you meet them about who you are, like all of that, the narrative you tell about your life experiences or your week or your day. Those are all things that are in beta mind. And so what we want to do is we want to shift into the more meditative space. We want to trance into the part of you that has a soft gaze, that looks at things through a watery eye, through dreaminess, not the part that's all like concrete and details and time blocks and da 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 da. We want the kind that's like, oh wow, like anything is possible. The stars are aligning, and we want to open up that part, which some people call woo. So we want to get in touch with our inner woo. We want to bring that in, because that's the part that dreams. That's the part that has visions and is visited by spirit, and has these openings, and the reason we want to be in that, to get our vision, is so that we don't just keep creating the same stuff over and over and over and over again. Because if we're like coming from beta mind, we're just going to keep creating the same stuff over and over, and may have different details and but it's the same thing. It's kind of like relationships. Like, you don't want to have the same relationship again. And so many people have the relationship, and then, they get out of it, and they think that if they get rid of this person, they'll be free from it. But if they don't do the inner work, it just happens again. It's just, then you have a new person with a different face, and it's the same stuff. So what you want to do is get into the visioning part, into the healing part, into the transcended part of yourself that is beyond your identification, beyond your narrative, beyond what you think is possible, beyond what you've lived up until now. We want to get access, and that requires trance. We want to get into that part of your brain. And, that's the more enlightened part of you, the part that's more light, the more joyful about life. We want to get into that part. And then that part, and we do healing in that part is going to wake you up to what more is possible. And we talked about this last week, and Akeem's mom, and she's on the call tonight, used to say, how can it get any better than this? What more is possible?
Possible.
And you can be in the middle of a crappy ass situation and say, what more is possible? How can it get any better than this? And then that's a way the universe goes, well, let me show you how it could get better, right? And so we want to get into the part of us that is like a divine child that's in touch with all the infinite possibilities of what could show up beyond what you think is possible because you've only ever experienced X, Y, and Z. So we do contemplation for multiple purposes. So the first contemplation I'm going to talk about, and contemplation is different than meditation. Like in meditation, the goal is kind of to let all the thoughts pass by and not latch onto them, and just let them all flow down the river, and then get to a place of like Zen tranquility, and or just expand your capacity to be present with the noise so that you can achieve peace while it's happening. So sometimes people can get to total quiet. I'm able to do that. Sometimes there's noise. And so if you can be present with the noise, sometimes then if your presence with the noise will make it subside. And so that's kind of meditation. And, it might take you 30 minutes or 5 hours, depends on what kind of week you're having or like how practiced you are. But what we're talking about is contemplation. It's slightly different. It's actually dropping a question down within yourself and following it as it moves through your body, through your being, through your inner realms, and noticing what your subconscious raises up in response to your question. It's more of a listening. It's like I just dropped a pebble down into a well, and then I'm watching the ripples, and I'm hearing the ripples, and I'm listening, and then an answer is going to percolate back up. That's like contemplation. And so the contemplation question that I recommend in order to kick off this whole thing is, what brings you aliveness? Like when you think about or consider the parts of your life, what parts of your life feel really alive? And what parts of your life feel kind of dead and dying, or meh, I don't really care. You're
Mm.
I don't like it, but meh, it's like that. So you want to really kind of ask yourself those two energetics. Like when you consider your relationship, do you feel alive? Do you feel open? Or do you feel, when you consider your job, do you feel alive? I'm excited about my job. I like what I do. Or do you feel, And the reason it's a contemplation is because if there's a then you actually want to go into that space and ask why. Why is there a Is it because you don't like your path? Or is it because some other need connected with it isn't being met? And so you can start to get into some discernment if you just keep asking more questions. Because you might find out you have a meh, but it's just because, you're not getting the results you want. Or you're not feeling appreciated. Or you've been working really hard at it and you're just tired and you need to take a rest. You need to go do something else for a little while and just go have some fun. So, but you won't know that unless you sit with it in contemplation and then just keep noticing where the energy's at. And when it's kind of meh, then you want to ask into it. Like, why is it that way? Because that'll help you start determining what is it about your needs that are not being met, what's working for you and what's not working for you. And it's very unlikely that we're going to have 100% of our lives working for us 100% of the time. That's exactly the way we want. That doesn't really happen. So at least in my experience, it hasn't happened. And so we get to ask now, what is it that we want to change? Because I do feel like life is going to bring us questions. It's going to bring us opportunities. And when we know what brings us alive, then life is going to say, I noticed that brings you alive. Would you like more experiences like that? Ding, 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 ding. And then because you're aware of that, it brings you alive, you're going to notice that life's responding because you're going to go, oh, there's another thing that's exactly like that. Oh, life is listening. And then it can be a joyful little game that you play with life. It's really fun. So I like this contemplation question. What makes you feel alive and what makes you feel meh? And then why is the meh? And then what would change the meh into, yeah, I like that now. What's the difference? What's the need that needs to be met in order for the meh to be a yeah? And so you want to start looking at that. And this is really about the practice of the contemplation to keep refining and refining and refining your vision so that you can start to see, oh, there is a change I need to make in my life. And this is the area of my life that changes in. And as you contemplate, you can get down more finer nuances into like, oh, this is the change. This is the change I need to make, the specific change that will bring me from meh to like alive. And so you want to find all of those little changes and start identifying what they are, because they'll open up more access to the vision of your life that you desire. More aliveness.
Yes. Well, and I like that you contexted. You said the word woo. So I'm gonna just say this really briefly. The word woo, I had heard this, believe it or not, in a corporate boardroom. The word woo. It's like woo. I'm like, question mark. What are they calling that? Did
Were
they
they
saying the
using it in
same?
reference to you or?
I mean, you see that's the question that well no. Well, yeah, I get that too. But on the other side, it's woo. What is that? And I realized I was already doing it. I had already been learning it in martial arts training. See, and once you really take to doing something that really that you can put your heart in, I noticed that for me, because I'm a spiritualist in nature, I spiritualize all the things that I touch. But that's me. Every person's a little different. Some people, they take it and they ratchet it up and they rev it up and they make it to this big, beautiful productions. Sometimes people do that. It's all about knowing who you are. Well, that's me. And when I heard that term, and then I started asking, what's woo? And I realized that I remembered reading a little bit about that when I was studying Bruce Lee. What martial artist hasn't studied Bruce Lee? Uh, I don't know of one. So, I mean, the legend, Bruce Lee. And his daughter actually wrote a really good book called Be Water, My Friend. And she also goes into the concept woo. And it's not WOO, it's WU. The second word is WEI. And that's Wu Wei wisdom. It's actually a Taoist principle. And it basically means the lack of action. It means being without doing. It means sitting with a really difficult emotion or something that's really powerful and really visceral and being able to work with it. In the inner medicine community, we that is actually like an underlying like tenet that we have. We're able to sit with some really difficult things, and so to also bring that right back, this is helping me to get to that place of meditation. Remember, I mentioned earlier a meditative practice, and Kerri brought in contemplation. Those two words might have come up as, is that the same thing? Maybe. Basically, they're like a part one and part two. And part one is you open the door, you open to your guides, like mentioned in the beginning, and then you bring in that spiritual wisdom. You get to that woo way, you become still. For me, I get there first after I've gotten the half part of establishing. I'm going to quiet down, I'm going to chill, and I'm going to give 5 minutes to this or a few minutes to this, whatever time you have, whatever feels right. And then you go into the meditative. So it's a part one, and then you go into the part two. So going to meditation still first is actually something Bruce Lee did as an example. So every day that he trained, he always has began his I think 2 hour training routine of like 20 different things. He was a manifesting generator, by the way, like myself. And so he did a lot in a short amount of time, but he's always open with a meditation first. So what I do once I've gotten to the contemplative state, then I switch to meditation. And to make sure that I do that, I then begin to connect with my center. And then I'm really sensing, I'm opening up my internal feelers, my spiritual feelers, and then I'm checking that I'm in tune with my true frequency. That's a big statement. How do you know what your true frequency is? Well, the longer that you do it, the longer that you sit with it, the more that you hear what is you and what is not you, the easier it is to know what is your true frequency. And there's also something else that happens. When you're in that centered place, you may have felt this before. Some people call this being in the zone. It was Michael Jordan when he had a 102-degree fever and he made the highest point scoring game of his entire career because he was in the pocket or in the zone. Well, that's what you're doing every time you're meditating. You're finding where your zone is, and then you're clicking right into that place. You're finding and tuning yourself to your true frequency. And it sounds woo, but the practice starts first with thinking of myself as a beacon of frequency in the galaxy. And I'm not just this carbon based being, I'm plasma, and I'm a frequency that vibrates. Even the rocks vibrate at a smaller, slower frequency than boiling water or hot lava, but they all still have their own frequency and their own movement pattern, like all of our chakras. So I basically need to tune into my beacon, aka my personal frequency from the source. I know its source because of also the way that its awareness lights me up. So consideration, once I've got into the contemplative phase, goes to this next phase. Does what I'm going to create in this vision deepen life? Does it restore balance?
Mm.
And does this require humility? So basically, I reduce the vision to a single truth that I can carry in my body. It aligns with my frequency, and it can even be a power statement. When a vision is clear, the path doesn't rush me, it steadies me. What that means is it doesn't matter if there's a tornado happening outside. I'm in the center of the hurricane. I'm in the center. I'm in the eye. I'm in the eye of the eagle, or the eye of the torment that's happening on the outside. It's not me. I'm in the center of it.
I love those questions and asking the questions. Of course, they're questions in service. Does this deepen life?
Yeah.
Does this restore balance? And does it require humility? Probably. And so I like that you ask those questions, because that is, one of the things that makes a vision really, really powerful towards it manifesting in a beautiful way is when it is a vision in purpose, in service to something greater than yourself. And so when we're really tuned in, dialed in, like you're saying, Akeem, when we're dialed into our frequency, when we're really tapped into our true heart, our true feelings, and we're in that expanded space of deepening within ourselves, because it is expand and it does deepen at the same time. I know it's language that if you haven't experienced it sounds strange, but when you're in that experience, you really do feel and you do receive visions. And it might be not like, maybe if you don't have clear visions like seeing pictures in your mind, but you have a sense of something, or some people smell, other people hear a voice, they hear a sound, other people just have a knowing inside, they just know. And
Mm.
however your intuition shows up for you, that's how your soul is speaking to you, saying, hey, from way out here in timelessness, I think this is a great idea, because I can see where you are in your journey, and I feel your heart, and I feel your body, and all the things going on, and how about this? And so these suggestions, they're not mandates, they're suggestions to see, will that light you up? Does that bring you joy? And you can say yes or no. But when you really know, like when you get that feeling sense inside, like this is the right choice for me, I'm going to do this, then it's really important that you begin to take daily actions towards it. And the daily action might be sitting in contemplation and connecting in with the energy of what it is that you're wanting to create, because you have the vision now, and asking, what is today? What's one small step I can take today towards that vision? And it might be that's enough. You just had to sit down and think about it. You dreamed about it for a half an hour and you felt it in your body, and that's enough for today. And you don't really get a clear sign. Other times you'll get a message that says, oh, today I want you to take this small action. And then it might be, go to this restaurant and sit down at the booth, and you say, why? But if you just go do it, you'll find out. So that's where the game is. It's kind of fun. You can play with spirit. And, it might be to pull a oracle card to get more information, because you might just feel like there's more information. I feel like my spirit wants to connect with me and tell me, but I just can't get it. For whatever reason, it's not coming through. I'm going to pull a card and I'm going to get some more insight. So using that same contemplation practice, you can dive more into, what is my step today? What's the action I take today towards the manifestation of my vision? And a lot of people, when you set a vision, and what we call in inner medicine training, after our teachers at the Power Path, this is one of their phrases, is we make a bid for power. And we honor that teaching from Jose and Lena Stevens, and we bring it in the East direction in the inner medicine group. And we say, okay, what is your bid for power? And it's that vision, it's the manifestation of that vision, whatever it is, into being. And whenever you make one of those bids for power, you just got to guess that probably there's going to be something that's going to require your humility. You're going to be confronted by something. You're going to have a perceived conflict or a challenge that you pull back from, or you're like, oh, I can't do that. I don't know if I can do that. And you're going to have some feeling sense like, I don't know if I can. I don't know that I'm worthy of this. You might have imposter syndrome. You might, so that's where all of the stuff that gets in the way, it's not in the way, it is the way. Like, in order to move towards the manifestation, you've actually got to move through all of these little things that Spirit places in your path. And some of those things are just inside of you. They're just emotional or mental experiences. Other things are, interactions or delays, or, it looks like it's not going to happen. And then you question whether you're on the right path, or like, why is this so challenging? Because there's block. And there's a lot of people teaching out there that if you keep getting that, it's like, because you're not supposed to do the vision that Spirit sent you. I would question that. If you sat in contemplation and you got the vision and it felt right to you and it lit your heart up and brought you alive, that's the direction you're meant to move in. You might just have something you need to work through in order to move you more along that path. There could be a lesson you need to learn, or there could be a skill you need to acquire, or something you need to resolve within yourself for you to move to the next step. So I would say, don't stop. It's not in the way, and it's not blocking you, and it's not telling you no. It's actually guiding you to what you need to do to open up more yes, to open up more aliveness and move through it. And anything else you want to add about that, Akeem?
Well, yeah, it's just really a power statement. And as you face this, as you find this within yourself, whatever you face, whatever you see in your vision, face it with valor, not so much to fall on a sword, but to embrace your light and in service.
It feels good. When you actually follow your path and you get these breakthroughs, they all feel good. And that's when you know you're entering your true work. As Jose Stevens likes to say, that's your true work. It feels good and people like you doing it. So it's a good thing. And yeah, so you want to keep following that path of true work. And if you want to go deeper with us, because this is the beginning, this has all just been such a taste. Oh, you're welcome, Sarah. We've really enjoyed this time with all of you and this series. And my intention and our intention is to do more of these talks if this was serving. So if you have been part of this series and you've been listening and you want us to talk about a certain topic, we're definitely open to scheduling more of these talks and addressing the topics that you give to us. We came up with these topics for the first part of the series, but we'll do more if you have topics you'd like us to address. And we'll put that out to the email list. So those of you who are subscribed, and again, you can subscribe for the Grace Under Fire series and receive all the replays at kerrihummingbird.com, Kerri, hummingbird.com. You subscribe for Grace Under Fire, and you'll receive all the replays from all of these talks. And then you can also email us to say what you'd like us to talk about. And you can also just come into community and join us for 30 days with Ride the Fire Horse. We have this Ride the Fire Horse experience that we are underway with right now, that we created because we knew that 2026 is really presenting some unique challenges with some intensity of the energy and the potential for there being a lot of conflict and opposing forces and things like that. So we want to give people a space where we can address the challenges that we're facing now and within ourselves, but in community, in a safe community where you are not judged for what you share. No one's trying to fix you. It's just a space where you can come in and share your path with others and ask questions and offer your word of the day of intention and be supported in that energetically and spiritually. And so this is a little taste of what we do in Inner Medicine Community, which is much more in depth We have weekly classes for inner medicine training. You know, our level 1 is 6 months weekly. So it is a commitment and an investment to yourself and to really liberating yourself from all the conditioning that has weighed you down and kept you out of your greatest yes, out of that aliveness that we're talking about tonight. We want to feel alive in every area of our lives. And there will be moments of meh. There are going to be stuff that's meh. And when you find that, that's the opportunity. Spirit's asking you to say, yeah, you're right. I don't really like that anymore. You're right. I grew out of that. You're right. I need something new. You're right. I'm on to the next thing now. Tell me more. It's an
Or you need,
opportunity.
or you need to sort what you already have.
Or sort what you already have and
Which, see, that's what contemplation, that's what meditation helps you do.
see it
No,
through
it
new
may just
eyes.
need, I need to sort this and see it through new eyes, like you said. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm congested. I need to clear out.
there
So,
you go. And that would be a mad too. That's overwhelmed energetically too.
yeah, so we have a lot of fun with this. You know, Akeem and I are walking our destiny path and we are in alignment with who we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to be doing, and it's fun. So, you know, not to say there aren't moments, right, that we work through, but mostly it's awesome. So we invite you to it. We invite you to our community and to do this with others. And the link for Ride the Fire Horse experiment. Did I say experiment? It is an experiment. I think I called it experience. Ride the Fire Horse experience is at kerrihummingbird.com as well. And it's a very low cost investment because we heard that that was important right now at this time, people going through financial stuff. So we hope you can join us. And yeah, let us know what you think. Comments down below and or sign up for the series and email us back and tell us what you thought and what else you want us to talk about. We love engagement. Right, Akeem? Like we like to talk with each other and just record it, but we also
Love to share it too.
we love to share
And I
too.
wish I was recording that. Well, see, we're recording it today.
We're recording it. And
Yeah.
we're so grateful to everybody who came live and we see all your beautiful comments and we love you each. And yeah, so we'll see you in all the ways that we see you and have a great evening. Love you very much. Bye for now. If you found even one gold nugget in this episode of Soul Nectar Show, will you do us a favor? Will you subscribe, like, and share this episode? Maybe even write a comment and let us know what you thought about it. We really, really want to engage with you at a much deeper level. Let's be part of community together. Have a great week, everyone. Bye for now.
Soul Nectar Show. Awaken, awake, Nectar Show. Take a sip from the drip of nectar from the source of who you are.